Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yeah. Oh, draw me, Lord. And I'll run after you. And I'll run after you. And go to parts. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yep. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yep. Now run. One more time. Now I'm going to take the high part. After you, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord.
Yes.
Oh, draw me, Lord. And I'll run after you. Great job, fellas.
Hey!
Boys to men, ABC,
Hey!
the East Coast family.
Check out the Instagram.
Yeah.
We got
Our
a
album
collab.
coming out soon.
We got a collab.
Yeah. Hit an invite collab on that one. Yeah.
Welcome to another edition of the Kingdom Influence podcast. I'm Jeff Adams,
I'm Gus.
and today we have
Today we have Calvin Nowell in the
Yes.
building. What's up, bro?
What's up, fellas?
I think we
Glad
have
to be here.
And I feel so bad because before we started, I was doing the introduction. I got your name wrong, and I'm like sitting there in my mind. I go, how many times have I said his name wrong, his last
Yeah.
name wrong? And he didn't correct me, but he corrected me on a podcast before we did. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's Calvin Nowell, like the first Noel.
Nowell.
That's my Christmas project, by the way. The first Noel.
How come you
project.
never corrected me on your last name?
Oh, it wasn't a big deal until the. This is going out to the world, so I was like, let me tell them the right way. It's Calvin Nowell.
I felt like I was back. I felt like I was back at school again because I had dyslexia in school, and I was like, oh, I just froze up. I got
Sorry
it
to
wrong.
make you have that
I got it wrong.
My bad.
What's up, Calvin?
Hey, what's up, brother?
How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
Love you, man.
Thank you. Love you too. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here in Florida.
Yes, I love Florida.
Come on.
What do you
Except
love
for
about
the hurricanes.
Yeah, what do you love about Florida the most?
The weather.
The weather?
Yeah, the
You like
weather.
a- you like a
last
hot state?
night. The weather last night. We were doing something last night. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It
because
was nice.
That was nice.
It was nice.
That was really nice.
because you're in
could've
the
been worse.
elements. You see, you have that lake breeze.
It was a lake. We were on a lake.
It's I call it the fake
breeze.
California weather that we get at this time of
Yeah,
year.
it felt like San Diego.
Right.
Which I love San Diego, but
Yeah.
last night felt like San Diego.
Don't be deceived by Florida.
Nope.
You've been down here when it's hot.
Okay. Oh, it gets hot though. Yeah.
We big guys, so I'm saying that that
Yeah.
humidity. It's like,
Oh yeah, I just sweated down here many days. Oh yeah.
so you had a worship project drop today with Ryan.
Worship song.
With Ryan Horton, yeah.
Yes, with Ryan Horton. It's just a little medley of worship we did called Draw Me, Lord, and a song called Let Me See Jesus. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it turned out really good. So if you're
It's
on
awesome.
YouTube, go check it out. Calvin Nowell, Ryan Horton, Draw Me, Lord, Let Me See Jesus. It's about 13 minutes long. So we worship just for 12, 13 minutes. And so it turned out really good. I'm really pleased by it. Yeah.
And I think I've known you like in the past when I was managing artists.
Yeah.
And I could never, because I was like, this cat's a lot like me. In a lot of ways, because I did music.
Yeah.
And I still toy around with it. I don't act out on it. You know, I might go in the studio, record a song or whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember back in the day, I was like, this guy's really talented. He's managing this artist.
Yeah.
And then, I have something that's really important to ask you, because we like reconnected through Better Man 365
Yep.
Ministries. You came on board as a marketing guy.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I know Calvin from back in the day, because I managed Group One Crew and all these different artists. And But and then I looked at your Instagram. I was like, what? I go, this guy's still singing. And I go, he's got, hundreds of thousands of people that follow on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I said, man, what are you doing, man? And you go, I just like marketing over music. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Dude, it all happened in the last year. So I've been in the business of music. I used to do my own solo stuff back in 2007. And then artists were noticing how I was doing it. And they were like, man, can you help me? So I started helping other artists. And then it was like, man, this is management. So I started managing a guy named B. Rife. He was like my background singer first when I was doing my solo music. And then after I started managing B. Rife, I started managing the band Gunger for about 4 years.
That was a phenomenal worship band.
Yes.
That's actually Mark Gunger, the pastor out of Wisconsin. Because I used to do a show, and I had him on there. He did that marriage.
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome, Mark Gunger.
Yeah.
That's his uncle, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then, so I managed them for a few years, and then I managed B for about 7, and I got out the management game because it's not easy,
Well,
Anyway,
let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, because
let's go there. Come on, let's talk about the management.
Listen, I have nothing but love for Nashville. I love Nashville.
Right.
I love the food. I love the culture. I love it's just a music city. It always has been.
Yeah.
But there's also a side to it because I was fortunate enough to come back here, or I would travel back to California when I had the record company there. But there's a side of it because if you're not like, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. There's a certain amount of people that there's this mentality that it's on the industry side. And I don't know, and I think what it is it's based out of insecurity, where I think a lot of guys get out of college and gals get out of college and they feel like they have to prove themselves at a record company.
Yep.
And they have to be like this big dog mentality.
Yes.
And they challenge managers like, well, we're doing it this way. I said, well, the artist isn't really, and then it becomes a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I've learned, because I was always a champion of the artist, you know what I mean? And reason why I identified the artist, because I was an artist myself. So I also do music. So it was like, I understood their perspective more than the labels, So I probably developed more of a relationship like, yeah, Calvin's awesome. He definitely got a strong opinion. I'm actually, remember Toby Mac, I did something with him recently in the studio, and just about a couple weeks ago, and he had said, oh, I know. He's like, man, I know you're going to tell me the truth. When you sing on this, Calvin going to always tell you the truth. And I was like, man, and it made me think, like, he's really just talking because of my management relationship, like, Calvin just going to tell you like it is.
Right.
And so, sometimes you have to do that in that business, and it's not always the best thing, but I just believe, like, man, just be honest. One thing I think about managers, everything is just shifted. Nobody knows what they're doing anymore in this music business.
No.
No, I don't think nobody. We say we know, but do we? Nobody knows what to do. We're all trying to figure it out.
I'll pause you right there. Let's talk about that, because I think I look at someone in your situation. Mm-hmm. You're kind of in the industry, but you're not, because you work with people. You worked with CeCe Winans recently, and you worked with Michael W. Smith in the past. I'm dropping names all for you right now.
Yeah, thank you.
But
I don't want to do it.
But you're kind of in the industry, but it's kind of behind the scenes. But you're doing this thing that God just kind of like elevated you through Instagram with like this worship movement.
Yeah.
And so I see that because when the Lord told me to kind of get back, outside of doing the film company and what we're doing, get back into music, I started talking to some of these Instagram artists and just like because I wanted to see what was going on. Because when you said no one really knows what they're doing, but I was like, man, if I had artists on Instagram and if I was an A&R at a record company, I'd be knocking them out of the park.
Oh yeah, totally.
But there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, it is a disconnect. I don't know. Well, I just kind of found it by happenstance, and I can tell the story.
Yeah, do it, please.
So, CeCe Winans is our client, and I do a lot of marketing stuff for her in the last 4 or 5 years. But I was tapping into, we produce a TV show for her that she puts called Generations, and I just remember I was like, I'm going to try this with her account. You know, I was like, I'm going to register for a YouTube partner program, you know, and then I started registering, and then I just started to see like, oh, this ain't that bad, you know, where I see, you know, of course I'm not going to talk about monies or anything like that, but it was just something that just opened my eyes, like, there's something here, you know.
Yeah.
And then, so I started studying it more, and one of my good friends is Ruslan, the guy that's big on...
Ruslan.
Ruslan, yeah. And so I've known him for many years, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing on YouTube?
Yeah.
And then he would just be like, yo, man, we did this and that. And I'm like, you lying. So then it started to be like...
You called Ruslan, he was lying?
Yeah, because I just was, you know, I was like, wait, you made what? And so then I just started to be like, okay, well, And he's like, yeah, you just got to put your stuff out there. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not really into doing the artist thing. So I just stopped doing the artist thing a long time ago. You know what I mean? I'm kind of behind the scenes guy.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll do sessions. Yes, I'll sing background for you. But as far as doing the artist thing, if I did something, I would just maybe go out and lead worship by myself. I wasn't trying to sign up for the artist.
Right.
And so this true story, what happened was Cece was recording her latest album. And I was like, man, I want to pitch some songs. But she probably only looks at me as a marketer. And I'm like, but I got some songs I think that she might like. And I was so nervous to send it to her. And I sent it to her, and she didn't respond back for a couple of days. And I was like, man, that's the worst feeling, because you think like, man, my songs must stink. It was just horrible. But
That's a bad feeling.
But anyway, she called back, and she was just busy. She was like, Calvin, what, you been sitting on these? And I was just like, yes, ma'am. And she was just like, man, I wish you would have gave them to me earlier. You know, it's already late in the game, you know, for her album. And then she's like, what's that one song? And I said, well, here's another song I did at this church. It's called If Not For Grace. I was like, I did it back in February, and it's like August. And I was like, I've had it for a while, but she said, whose song is that? I was like, oh, it's a Clint Brown song. She's like, have you released it yet? I was like, no, ma'am. She's like, Calvin, what are you waiting to turn 80 to release music? And I was like, I just got real emotional, and it convicted me. I'm like, CeCe Winans is telling you, what are you doing? And she was like, Calvin, you sound amazing. She said, you remind me of James Ingram, you know.
Yeah, you got a phenomenal
And she was
voice.
just really giving me gas, you know. I mean, that's just the truth. And I needed
But it's the
it.
truth.
And I needed that. I needed the encouragement, because I kind of disqualified myself. And really, honestly, I'm that scripture that the guy that had the talents that buried it. I really buried.
But why did you disqualify yourself? Was it because of the industry?
I just know how hard it is. I remember releasing a song maybe a year or two before that. It didn't do anything. And I was just like, man, I'm not about to pay all this money. And I know how hard it is for artists. All these are my friends, clients, different people that I've worked with. And I just knew it just takes a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to get on the playlist, and, you know, all the things that people say. And so when I did it, I was just like, well, I remember just praying a prayer, to be honest. I prayed a prayer about Solomon that he prayed to the Lord. He said, Lord, give me wisdom to govern people. And I just said, Lord, give me wisdom to just lead people. I'm not worried about music. And Solomon was a songwriter. His dad was a songwriter, David, in the Bible. But that wasn't his focus. It was just really about the people. And so I just prayed that prayer, and I put it up on YouTube and stepped away from it, maybe about a week or two, because I didn't want to get the comments. Because the other thing is too, I'm not in the best shape of my life, and you know, if you know my story, I go up and down like a roller coaster, like Janet Jackson. 1 minute I be big, 1 minute I'm thin. You know, I'm on the other side right now, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But and you know, I was just thinking like, man, they gonna try to rip me to pieces or something. You know, they gonna say something, and I just put it up there, and it came back. It was like, oh man, cool. I got 50,000. That's pretty good, you know. And I was just like, hey, wait, that's 100,000. Uh-oh, it said 200,000. It said 200,000. And it just kept going. I'm at 500. You know, and it was just like,
Wow.
yo, it's like I got 1 million views. And so I was just tripping off of the million. But I was looking under the hood too.
What'd you find?
Ooh, I found some gold. I found gold.
You didn't find an oil leak?
Yeah, I was like, I said, wait a minute.
What kind of gold keywords we talking about?
I ain't gonna put my business out there because there's still some haters out there.
You be out of business.
I see y'all. Y'all ain't getting all that information. But I started to see like, wait a minute, why ain't nobody telling us to go on YouTube? And then I started talking to my other artist friends. I won't say their names, but they were just like, really? And I was like, why do y'all look surprised what YouTube is doing?
Yeah.
And I just kept staying on it, and I just was like, well, I'm just going to start releasing music. Because really, it was spiritually. It was just people were enjoying it, you know. Then, at the end of the year, that was in August of 2023. Then in December, I had like 8,000 Instagram followers just from through the years.
Yeah.
6 to 8, or I don't know, somewhere around there in the single digits. It just started growing and growing till I'm like right up to about 278,000 followers. And
Wow.
I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous.
Wow.
Like it just started going viral. And then I did a song on Trust and Obey on Instagram. And then that one had like 16 million views. And then I was just like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. But I still didn't believe it all, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I started this worship collective, Aware. And on December 31st, I was like, man, this is a true story. I was like, it's a New Year's Eve. I was like, man, what do people need to be encouraged by? And I had a little video of us singing the song Trust in God. It was a one camera, but I had it mixed, you know. I just said, I'll put that up on New Year's Eve just to see, you know. And man, it ain't even, since that's 10 months ago, and we are at 23 million views.
Whoa.
On Trust in God.
23 million?
23 million.
Get your plaque yet?
I got, well, my channel got the 100,000 subscriber. This one, Aware's channel, is close to getting 100,000.
Wow.
So then I just started to say, wait a minute, guys, hold on. Let's talk about YouTube. And so now I'm just like, it's a strategy that I don't think the industry, and if it is a strategy, they just ain't saying it out loud. That's just from my perspective. What I'm saying is not Bible. Like, it's not, I'm just telling you my experience.
Yeah.
It's not like people telling you to break artists on YouTube. I still felt like, okay, this is YouTube. I mean, honestly, if I could be completely honest, I was thinking I was having bots or something that was following. I was like, somebody playing a game on me, you know. And then it was starting to be that I would go out of town. And I remember getting on the plane this year, and I was flying somewhere, and the lady in front of me, she leaned over in between the seats, and she was like, where would I be? She started singing my song. And I was like, what? She's like, I love your music. She said, I pray one day that God will let me meet you, and here you are sitting behind me on the plane. And I was like, and then so I started going different places, and people would just recognize me, and then they would just be like, yo, I listen to your music and this and that. And so really, to be honest with you, I was just doing this to help people. And of course, it's been rewarding. But that really wasn't that wasn't my motive. That was just, Lord, what can we do? And everybody's like, they love me sing with piano. Like, I love intimate music. So
yeah.
I was like, well, if y'all want that, then that's all. I thank God I don't have to get a band and pay for all.
Right.
I was like, man, if y'all like piano music, I could do a whole album on just me and piano. Like, that's just my favorite way of singing.
Yeah.
So I just started doing another songs and songs that I had in the vault. I was like, here go another. And I thought maybe it was the covers that they liked. Then it was just like, man, whatever I released was just going viral. And what happened was YouTube, YouTube was promoting it.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. When YouTube because, you know, my videos would be like over 10 minutes long or so. And I call it Worship 10 because it's about 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I believe that because my watch time is normally like 60 to 90 seconds.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, when I release these videos, my watch time says 7 minutes.
That's fantastic, man.
So people were watching for like 6 to 7 minutes, almost the entirety. And I think YouTube was like, yo, push him to the front because they can put more ads into.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it works. And so I felt like next thing I know, it was on YouTube's playlist. And I was like, maybe this is just on my phone that I'm showing up everywhere. Then everybody was like, dude, I saw you on YouTube. And so I owe YouTube, you know, big accolades for helping me to spread my message, you know, through music.
That was God.
It was God. This is another true story. This is another thing. So as I'm figuring all this out, I go to a YouTube conference in Vegas. And that was in maybe like February of this year or the spring. And I go to this conference, and they're all the YouTube gurus, and they were like, hey, if you want to get your channel audited, you know, come over here. And so she looks at my channel, both of my channels for Calvin and Aware, and she's like, you haven't filled out the about. Your channel's incomplete. You didn't fill this out. You didn't fill this out.
Oh, so you weren't getting paid?
Huh?
Were you getting paid?
No, I was getting paid,
Okay.
but she was like, but you didn't fill out this and didn't. And then she was just like, you're supposed to do this, and you didn't. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. And she was like, yeah. And she's like, but wait, you got that many? And she just said, you know what? I'm just going to be honest with you. She said, God's in your channel.
Come on.
She said,
YouTube
said out of her
reps
mouth. She said, God's in your channel.
Wow.
And I was just like, what do you mean? She was just like, I mean, you're doing all of the worst practices for YouTube, but you're getting this response. And she just said, God's in your channel.
Hey.
Wow.
And that just made me, I'm so glad that she said that because I'm not trying to do business as usual of, oh, I'm so smart on YouTube. I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep God in the channel.
Yeah.
And keep the main thing, and let God do what he wants to do. And that way I won't be let down. If people don't watch it, if people do watch it, I thank you. But I seriously, like, I feel like people are helping me. They encourage me. I go live on YouTube sometimes. They're so encouraging. And I remember one time doing a live, I about cried because people were just encouraging me and just they were donating as I was talking.
Yeah.
I'm not even asking for donations. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, I was like, oh my God, y'all. I was like, thank y'all. Thank you. You know, so I just, you know, I say all that to say, to let people know, it really does. God has a way of opening doors that no man can open
right.
or no man can shut. And when
right.
he opens the door, he like swings it open. You know what I mean? And so, and then the last thing I was going to say was in 2023, my main prayer for that year, and everybody knows that I'm an Oprah fan. Oprah spoke at CC's conference that we produced called Generations, and Oprah spoke through Zoom. So she said, a lot of people don't know this about me. She said, but I prayed and asked God. My prayer was, I want to do God's dream for my life versus my dream. And she said a lot of people think that because I'm Oprah that I had this plan that I can get everything done. She said, no, I prayed God's dream for my life. She said, all I wanted to do was be a teacher.
Wow.
And God, I guess, made me a teacher of the world. And so I'll never forget that because I want to tell this other little story. She said, when I got started, I went over these rich people's houses, kind of like how we were at that party last night. Like rich people's houses, you see the nice cars and you just like, wow. And she said, I remember going into the backyard and I would see these 6 trees. I'm like, Lord, if I ever get famous or ever get money, I want to make sure that my house has these 6 trees. And so she said, I was in my kitchen and I looked out and I was reminded of that conversation many years ago that I had with myself. And I saw the same trees in my backyard. But she said I didn't have 6 trees. I had so many I couldn't count. And she said I had to call a tree counter. She said, yes, there is a such thing as a tree counter. Wow. She said I had to call a tree counter to count the trees. And she said I had 3,633 trees in my backyard. And so she pretty much tears up and she's like, I'm telling you what I know. She said, God can dream a bigger dream for you than you could ever imagine. And so when you hear Oprah tell you, God's got a bigger dream than your dream, I surrendered that thing immediately. Wow. I was like, I'm going with God's dream. So, Calvin had his dreams of my marketing company. And what I've come to find out, God wants the same thing for you. It wasn't like, he wants the main thing to be the main thing first. And that's just the part that I love telling the story, because it's like Solomon in the Bible. It's like he built the Lord a temple. But then the Bible also said, and he built himself a royal palace. I'm like, that's God saying, like, I don't mind you having something. You just got to keep the main thing the main thing. That's right. So that's my strategy. It's like, I'm going to keep the main thing the main thing. And whatever happens, happen. That way I won't be let down. And if God opens doors and gives more, influence or wealth, I'll take it.
I think that your perspective, I mean, you've laid it out really well, but like, we'll make it really basic for people. Your perspective is basically like, look, because a lot of people, they get this call, God calls them to do something. So they get fixated on this one thing, like, especially with artists. Right. I think it happened to me like, this is my gift. It defines me. But through that gift, I found that I had other gifts. But sometimes I think artists get stuck sometimes on this gift. Like you get prophet, you get this word over you, like, hey, you're gonna sing for the masses. You're gonna sing, and you immediately think, I'm gonna sing for the masses. I'm gonna have thousands of people in front of me all the time. And I think a lot of times people are let down because for instance, I mean, I had moments in my life, the same thing. I saw it. I remember it, and God fulfilled his promises. And I did. I played in front of a lot of people. But his promise he had for me, he fulfilled. But it was 13 years later. It wasn't, he told me I was going to perform. He spoke to me, changed my life. They used to do these things called Night of Joy at Disney World. I was there as a teenager. The Holy Spirit spoke to me. Everything changed like that. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. You'll be doing that for me one day. And immediately the next day I was changed. But then 13 years later, I was working for a mainstream management company. I was still playing music on the weekends, doing stuff with Rick Springfield, and I'd still do churches. Then, Chuck Tilley and Jim Stout at Universal called me and goes, hey, we want you to play both nights at Rock the Universe.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, what? And so I opened up for Toby one night, and who was the other person? I think it was like Newsboys. I was on the main stage. And all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and he says, all right, this is it. You're done. He goes, what was imparted to you 13 years ago, you imparted to this crowd. So I just ministered to the crowd and pointed out youth pastors. So I think what you're saying, and what's helped me too, is because I think a lot of people, and I want to get your take on this too, because a lot of people, they have this call, and they think it defines them. And that's a gift. It's a gift. It's an awesome gift. But sometimes artists get so stuck in this rut of just like, they're so focused on it, they can't see anything around them. Like for instance, I love your take that you're just like, you're so humble about it, and you haven't changed anything. You're still doing marketing.
Yeah, totally.
You're still doing marketing. It's like, hey man, whatever happens, happens. And I think that's the approach. I always tell artists that too. It's like, man, find these other things
to leverage. I tell artists, I was like, yo, the music business is dead. This is how you got to look at it. There's no such, it's dead. It's not the same. It's that part that we knew back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, that's dead. That's right. What it is now is the entertainment business. You are in the entertainment business. You're not in the music business. You're in the entertainment business. And when you think about it, that you're in the entertainment business, then that means you have all the other things. It might be your podcast. It might be, we're looking for the entertainment, of what you do. And if his music is a part of it, then great. But you might be an actor. You might be an actress. You might have a makeup line. We ain't seen Rihanna.
Right.
And you didn't have to see Rihanna. She used her music to get makeup, and hasn't returned.
Yeah.
sense. And it doesn't have to.
But that's funny because like most rappers, it's like years later, right? They started their whole career with rapping, but years later, I'm like watching these guys in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what? I didn't know you were an actor. Like,
Yeah.
everything just switched for them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're saying,
They
now
just-
they're in the
they was
entertainment
like
industry.
Will Smith. I mean, he was like, look, I ain't rapping no more. And I mean, he can still rap, but I mean, you just have to expand and see if there's other gifts, and don't just be so one way, And I mean, it may work for you and within music doing it one way, and you build it up. But if it don't get weary.
That's right.
Just keep grinding, and be open to other ways to share your vision. You know what I mean? So sometimes it might be like Ruslan's a great example. He's a great rapper, but it wasn't the rap that was blowing up.
Yeah.
God was like, yo, get to talking. Yeah, I want you to speak over some things. It may not, you gonna rap, but just hold on.
Yeah.
And for me, it was more like, oh, I want to be behind the scenes. I want to be, a mogul, whatever, behind the scenes.
Right.
And I was like, nah, bro, you gonna sing. And so it's kind of like even when I post stuff, I can post something about my company. I can post something about something spiritual. They don't respond at all. They be like, nope. When I posted me singing video,
Wow.
share. And I'm like, y'all. But I just say give the people what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that's what they want, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to serve the people. And so, yeah, now I am officially an artist.
Come on.
That
Now.
I just wasn't trying to be, but, but hey.
Hey.
And my encouragement, too, is that it's never too late.
That's right.
Because God took me at what I thought my most vulnerable place and put me out there in the forefront. I'm older, I'm bigger. I'm like, I really would have disqualified myself, And God was just like, nope. And that's what I even try to tell people that are younger, that are older, or they're, in their 40s, 50s, and, all those ages. It's never too late.
No, it's not.
It's never too late. I remember, and I go to the marketing conferences, and I really digest a lot. I study marketing a lot. That's what I went to school for. But they even talk about how grandparents really lead TikTok. The content around grandparents is so huge. That's why kids, but that lets you know the young people still want to hear from older people.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just in a different way. You know what I'm saying? But like their content is great, but nobody that's over 65 they don't have accounts, they don't produce it, they just are on their grandkids' accounts.
Because kids want wisdom. They're searching for wisdom. They're looking
They
for
just want it in a
truth,
different way. Yeah.
And they can't get it from their peers because it's like, I'm not going to listen to this guy.
Right.
They need something to, pass down or take from
Yeah,
the older
you
generation.
still want to learn, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I just tell my friends, like, you know what, stay relevant. Technology ain't going nowhere.
Right.
It's going to be here. And if you want to stay young in your mind, then stay on technology. But if you want to get old, then ignore it.
Right.
Too many people, I was just at dinner with some people, they was like, I just don't have time for that. And social media this. And I'm just like, yo, you better change your perspective about social media. You can also encourage people's socks off by liking their posts and just saying, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
You're doing a great work. Thank you for this. Like, changes your whole day.
It does. It really does.
It does. It does.
So if you're in a room right now and you had you saw a church flyer, you saw a tambourine, which one would you pick up first?
Church flyer.
Really? Wow. Because of the marketing side.
Yeah,
There's your
I would
passion.
be like, what's going on in this church? I want to know who the pastor is. I want to know.
That's
I
interesting.
want to know all the things within
Yeah.
the church to kind of gauge what this church is about. Definitely the flyer before the tambourine.
Wow.
Maybe I should have picked a different instrument or something. Tambourine's kind of an off instrument anyways.
No, but that's
But I would pick I did true confession. I like marketing more than singing.
That's awesome though.
I do. I love marketing. Like when I was 4 years old, I used to watch the TV show Bewitched.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to be Darren Stevens, her husband.
Which one?
The first one. The one that was go to the advertising agency and he would come up with slogans. And ever since a kid, I just always wanted to do that. And that's why I went and studied marketing in college. And that's why I started working at advertising agencies. I love oh, we can come up with a slogan. We could do this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love all that, more than I love singing. Like, and a lot of people, excuse me, one thing about my story, and I've said this on certain podcasts before, but people don't know, I didn't start singing until I got to college. So I never grew up singing, ever. I didn't sing till I was a freshman in college. And I discovered I had the gift of singing. And so did my parents, and they was looking at each other like, what? Oh my gosh, Cal. We didn't know. We didn't know Calvin could sing. And I always say that because my identity is not in singing and what I do. That's why it's so easy for me to lay it down.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a thing that I've always grew up wishing to be. It was like, take it or leave it. And that's why I buried my gift, because I never was thinking that that's what God was calling me to, So that's a true story. I did not grow up singing. And then I just saw God elevate, me with different artists and singing background and doing all the session stuff. But yeah, so like when I get frustrated with Nashville and this whole system and the gatekeepers and all the jealousy and competition, I'm always like, see y'all could have it, because I don't want it.
Lord.
Yeah, Lord Jesus.
Lord Jesus. But there are some good people. I was, like last year, me and Gus went up there. He was shooting a documentary, and I went up there with him. It was like around Christmas time, and I had been disconnected from the industry for, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because I just went a different direction. I went into like the news media world. And so I went up there, and it was funny because all these guys that I remember that were interns, and they were just, they're running these companies now. And so I just went in there and checked them out, and was just like asking them questions like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I'm just saying, hey, man, just say hello. I see what's going on. What's the pulse going on here? So there are good people up there. There really is. I think the old regime of what we're talking about, they're older now. They're getting kind of flushed out a little bit. This the guys in their 30s and 40s now, they're good people, man.
Yeah.
Because they came up through that dirt, and they realized they didn't want to be treated a certain way, I think.
Yeah.
And they don't treat people that way. They're very kind.
Yeah.
Because the generation I come from, it was cutthroat. They were just nasty, laying on the table, tell you what they thought, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was like...
when I started off trying to do music and as an artist, they was like, you sing worship music CCM, it's not going to work.
Oh, you got another song?
Yeah, huh?
You got another song?
No, I'm saying they told me.
That's what they say.
Yeah, no, they were like,
you got another song?
they actually said it didn't work for Anthony Evans. It's not going to work for you.
And that's let's talk about that, the racial side of that. Because if you're a black man, Hispanic, because here's the thing too, is I'm gonna be honest, transparent, because Gus was there with me too. I don't understand, like, and I always think business. I'm always thinking like, if I was a head of a company, and to look at revenue streams and not be intimidated by things, but you want growth. Because one of the labels we talked to is like, they were trying to figure out how to get in the Latin market. And Christian Latin artists are just off the chain on Spotify, millions of downloads. And I'm like thinking, how hard is that for you to do that? Because back in the day, I was pushing urban, urban music. And the labels started catching on. I said, well, why don't you start hiring people that are equipped, that understand this music? And maybe you can, and slowly, it was, me, Toby, a few other guys like behind the scenes pushing Christian rap. I mean, I go.
Well, I mean, I feel like Christian music is just always behind the curve, and I'm just like, why is it like that? Like when I was managing B-Rife, he was a great singer rapper. They told him he had to pick one. And you don't have to pick one. You can sing and rap. That was before there was a Drake. And then when Drake comes out, it's like, oh, I guess you can sing and rap. Like, we was coming to y'all first. Before there was Forrest Frank, it was B-Rife. Like, it's that kind of stuff where it's like, but the industry would not take it. They would not. They'd be like, no, but it just has to be this way. And B-Rife was making hooks like a Forrest Frank all day long.
Yeah.
And it was just sad because the Christian music industry just wasn't ready as a whole. Like Toby was great because he signed them, but then we saw trying to manage to get it out there on radio and everything else And I remember being, when as a manager, they was like, well, Becky, it was all about Becky on the radio. That was their avatar profile of who they were going after. I was like, y'all, Becky has changed her outfit. Becky has changed. Yes, she may be a soccer mom, but she grew up listening to 90s rap or whatever. Like, she's not the same person. You need to update her clothing. You need to update. She's a soccer mom, but she's got a little swag to her. And I just remember they would just be like, yeah, they just like Jeremy Camp, A Third Day, or you had to be a white male that sound like, ooh, you know, that sings like that. No shade to those artists. I'm just saying, but
God of Wonders.
Yeah, you had to have that thick growl voice.
The growl.
The growl. Yeah. And I mean, at least that's what I thought, you know. And then, but I think people are evolving now. It's like, because you have to evolve.
And I wanted to get you take it too, because we talk about we're talking about diversity in the CCM culture, but you know, me being like away from it, and I think the last 2 years, I watched the Dove Awards, and I was like, man, whoever took over the Dove Awards,
Jackie Patillo,
she has done a phenomenal.
Yeah, she has. I would say
every genre of music is represented there,
and I think that comes from her desire. You know, Calvin, don't go there, and I'm not going.
Go.
No.
Come on now.
Well,
Let's go there.
You know, I'll just say this, because this is not true for everybody. But I do feel like, why does it always have to come through black people to have diversity?
That's good.
Good point.
And I mean, Jackie's black, and so she has a real strong vision for diversity, and we see it.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, I'm just like, but why? It's got to be Jackie, or it has to be Maverick City, or the people that started, or it's, you know, that's my question to the industry. Like, I believe diversity is better.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Yeah.
Diversity is better. You should want diversity. The mainstream wants diversity. If Katy Perry is going to do the Super Bowl, they want to have Missy Elliott to sing with her. Like,
But music is diversity now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
especially mainstream. But I feel like I think like the Christian part is like, I mean, it's just slow behind, you know, where I'm like, okay, now CeCe Winans is being played on things, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's not like it's been, and same thing on gospel. It's like gospel play gospel music. They don't play.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get no Phil Wickham on a gospel station. But everybody that's listening, don't just listen to everybody that just ain't into gospel only, or only into CCM.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so where are those hybrid stations? I don't know. Maybe we need to create one, but
I think it's getting there. I mean, what I used to run into, like, you know, with Christian radio was, it was like you know, if it wasn't like, you know, something like a K-Love, you know, Air One back in the day, where they had a lot of stations, you know, for like CHR type, you know, if I had Group 1 crew, it would work on CHR until we had a song that worked on AC, and we I think we charted like all the way to like number 9 or something.
Yeah.
We went number 1 on CHR. I think we were 8 or 9 on AC, which was hard to do. But I think a lot of problems, like the diversity. Like you're talking about these owners of these stations, because Christian radio is still a viable beast for music. I can't say that for the rest of the world. Like mainstream culture, it's not as big as it was, because, you know, I will say that it's happening for Latin music in the mainstream side, like big time. Like everybody in this town, they're Latin guys, and they're Latin stations. There are like 10 Latin stations here in Orlando.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But like in the Christian space, you got these old school guys that own these stations, these antennas. And I remember one guy, and he would cause a lot of number ones not happening. And I can't fault the guy,
Who
because
is it?
but I can't really fault the guy, because, you know, people have different spiritual doctrines, but he would, and I kind of appreciate it, because I think sometimes, you know, we call it the Jesus BPM in Nashville. There's not enough Jesus in there, and you just throw Jesus in there to throw Jesus in there. But this guy would open up the Bible, and he'd make sure that what the artist was saying was spiritually sound. Which back then, they're like, come on, man, you know, blah, blah, blah. And because you're trying to get the number 1. But now I think about it now, I go, well, that's dope. He's like the only one, that guy, you know, he's got the old school roots. And he was an older guy. So he came out of the Jesus movement, the hippie movement. And he got radically saved through that. But that was his whole motive. And he stuck with his guns. He stuck with Jesus. And he saw this whole culture because he saw the spirit of mammon coming by in the big labels in Nashville. And, Capital coming in. Because, back in the day, Word Records started out of Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, or Dallas, and independent. And they saw, like, in the early 90s, the mainstream culture started saying, like, man, there's a lot of money here. So the Spirit of Man came knocking on the doors. These guys that started these labels, they go, wow, man, we just slam dunked. I go, man, you just sold God's, thing to the devil.
Wow.
And so a lot of that, you see all that you see this corrupt culture in Nashville. And there's, like I said, there's good people that work there.
Yeah, totally. That's
right. But that's what that industry, that's what you're up against. I think that's what we feel like when you would go in there as manager, I'd go in there as manager. I felt, I go, something's not right because this feels, actually, it felt a lot worse sometimes than me going up to like Bad Boy Records or Def Jam when I used to go to New York. I felt a lot better up there, Sony 550, than being in Nashville.
Yeah, totally. And I remember same thing happened with me when I was managing B-Right. It was like, man, we were having issues with local labels and people seeing things, but then Virgin Records literally gave us a deal, and they were like, you're going to be our top 2 artists. Our only other artist that's big is Katy Perry, and we look at you as our next. And then all of a sudden, everybody got let go from a layoff, and that deal never went through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do believe, I was going to say this recently. I had a guy in the industry, and I'm going to not name his name.
Do it.
No, but he's older, white. And he called me a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, hey, what's going on? He was saying some encouraging things of what he's seen me doing. And I was like, hey, so how's your multicultural thing? I know you were big into that thing or whatever. He was like, I don't believe in multiculturalism anymore. I said, why? You were he said, and this is a true story. He said, I'm in too many rooms where I hear what white people say when y'all aren't in the room.
Ooh.
And they don't want it. He said they don't want it. He's like, they do not want it at all. And I said, you're kidding me. He said, yep, I'm in these same rooms. And he said, I just hear what they say when y'all aren't in the room. And he said, now I'm just into the empowerment for African-American black artists or whatever.
Wow.
And it just really blew my mind, and it hit me. I was like, man, that stinks. You know what I mean? And I just put that out there because I'm just saying, not to create any controversy, and I'm just saying he probably hopes that he's wrong. I'm hoping that he's wrong. You know what I mean? But, like, I respected a white man to be able to say, to blow the whistle. He just blew the whistle to me privately, and I just blew it on your podcast.
You heard it first.
But I mean, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what the insecurity is to it. But like when God made us, He made us all in His image.
Right.
And my friend Nikki Lerner, I got to shout her out. She says this thing: you have to look at your life, your business, and ask this question: who's missing? If you want all of God, ask that question: who's missing? So if we were building a business together, our question is, who's missing?
Right.
Who's not at the table? If we want all of God, we all three would probably say, yo, I think we need some Asians.
I think we need some Indians.
I think we need some Indians.
Yeah.
So what happens is now you become intentional about, we gotta go get some Indians and we gotta go get some Asians,
right,
because we don't have all of God represented.
Right.
It's just us three, white, black, and Hispanic, And I think that's the thing. Like, it'll prosper your business. it'll diversity. Like I said, it's better.
Yeah.
You should want to have everybody at the table. You know what I mean? There's enough room for all of us,
Right.
Right.
And so that's where I think that like in Christian world, it's just like we're missing. And I feel like the mainstream gets it all the time. Like, Justin Bieber is singing with, somebody else, or Daddy Yankee, or whoever.
The country crossovers too.
They're crossing over. The mainstreams are crossing over. But and Christians is crossing over, but it's still very. Like,
Slow.
it's slow. It's like, it's Phil Wickham or Fred Hammond. I asked people on CCM, do y'all know Fred Hammond? I never heard of him. Who is he? What you mean you don't know who Fred Hammond is? I'm like, you ain't heard of Fred Hammond? They was like, what does he sing? I'm like, oh, man, come on.
Oh, you lost.
But I can go to the blacks and be like, you don't know Phil Wickham? No, what does he do? This is Amazing Grace? Never heard that. What's that like?
I remember, it's crazy too. It's like, I think it was like Lecrae, like his struggles, like early on, like him and Ben doing Reach. Everybody was going to him. Like Toby went to him. Like they started connecting, and Toby's like, what are you doing? How are you, how are you selling these records? People were asking these questions, and Lecrae goes, I'm going to the black churches. Nothing's changed.
Yep.
And then they're, well, how do you do that? How do you do it? I'm going to the black churches. I'm going to what I know.
Yeah.
And so I think to go back to what you said originally too is like, I think that culture, like I can't speak for every white person in the industry, but I'm thinking probably it's the older regime that's scared of change because all they know is this certain sound, and they feel intimidated. It's almost like we're different breeds. Like if I hire somebody, I'm going to hire somebody that's better than me, that I know that can probably take my job. There's so much in that industry where people they don't hire the qualified,
right,
and they push down because they want to control and have this reign. And if it sticks out anything outside of what they don't know, they're going to squash it.
Yeah.
And because I can't really, because I'm not in it, so I can't really say it speaks as a racial thing, but I think that's probably the case because they'll only know, because even with the artists I had, like Group One Crew, we had to like do songs that they necessarily didn't want to do because they told us to. You got to do this one radio song because we got to get it to AC radio and it has to sound like this. And we're like, that's not what we do.
Yeah.
So I think,
I understand it. I mean, sometimes they'll study their audience and they just say like, it's not racial. They're just studying this. But I also say, study it a little bit further. You'll be surprised what people listen to for real. Don't just assume what you think. Like, just because they do like Jeremy Camp does not mean that they don't like something hip hop. You ain't playing Jeremy Camp at no wedding.
yeah,
You playing Montel Jordan. This is how we do it.
this is how we do it.
Yeah, you playing Wobble, and everybody that's white is Wobble with me, baby, Wobble. But yep, all those white people.
You can't forget the Macarena. Hey,
Yeah.
for Gus. Hey, Macarena.
All right. But I mean, they know the music.
I don't even know what they're
That's
saying.
how it is. They know the music.
Yep.
We just decide to decide for them.
Yeah.
But people, you can't be in high school nowadays without not knowing hip hop.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, that's just the truth. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, like, it's not about the color. It's just diversify your sound. Like, even try it. Just try it. And if it, I mean, you can achieve diversity at your church. I mean, church is still the most segregated day of the week.
Yeah.
And I've had people say, well, what do we do, Calvin? I'm like, okay, you can be a white church. You don't have black people. Why don't you just change your playlist in the morning when people come in? Try to just play Tasha Cobbs in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't have no blacks. But you can try it. What's wrong with that? Or if you're in a black church, why not just play, Elevation Worship or something before service starts? You don't have to play Fred Hammond all the time. You know what I mean? Like, try it. You can expose people through a playlist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just little steps that I think people could take that can really change the environment, change the culture. And, thank God for people like Maverick City, even though I know they sometimes are getting a bad rap, which I don't understand. But, like, they help pave the way for diversity. You know what I mean? I remember going to the concert, Maverick City concert in Nashville, and I saw all the white people going in there. I was like, it was tons. I was like, wow. I was so impressed. I was cheering for it. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, shoot, uh-oh. I said, uh-oh. Why am I on these podcasts being so... I'm not doing no more podcasts. But yes, I was like, because I know the industry, you know, and I'm just like, man, they're really bridging the gap.
Yeah.
And I just was wondering, do people have a problem with that, you know? And so I believe that diversity is better, and that's my point.
Yeah.
I bring all that up to say, I just think diversity is better, and I think that's from black, white to Asian, everybody. Like, people are mature, and they want, it's like eating a meal. Like, no, I don't just want to eat, you know, tacos every night. Trust me, I love tacos, but I might want Italian.
That's right.
As well,
Yeah.
like give people, you know, a diversity of,
Right.
on the buffet. So anyway,
I love it.
that's too much. I did too much.
But I'm disappointed because I think before we started rolling, you have this thing. I catch on to people's things that they do, and you go, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
And I think, you know, from a management perspective, we need to get that T-shirt made.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do it. You started. Give me
That could be on
cut.
every commercial.
Yeah.
The way it's Southern hospitality.
It's because I don't know what else to say.
You're like well, you're a gentleman too. It's like you're just so humble, and that's just something. It's like you're polite. Yeah. And like
My dad used to tease me like that. He's like, you always be like, know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying. And I'm like, Dad, shut up. He's like, you always be like, know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying.
and you just went, mm-hmm.
I can say that. Mm-hmm. Calvin, we really believe in you. Mm-hmm. That's also me. That means the difference. Mm-hmm. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't believe you at all.
Before we wrap up, we do this at every episode. We've been talking. You know, I felt like we did this service. We were talking about Jesus, but not talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
We were talking about an industry that, you know, is surrounded by Jesus. But can you just tell the listeners and maybe invite them to have a relationship with Jesus?
Yeah. For those of you watching, Jesus is a game changer. He makes the difference. He really does. I was talking to someone today, and, you know, we just had the elections, and we're not going to go there. But we were just talking. Jesus calls the shots. You may not think he does, but he really does call the shots. He's calling it, even with, no matter who you voted for, no matter who's in office, Jesus is on the throne. He's the one who calls the shots. It's by his grace and his mercy. And God can take you places that you've never seen. And to have a relationship with him, I'm like, tell people, get the insurance. The insurance that allow you to go to heaven and to see your loved ones and to live eternally. You know, what do you do when you don't have this life? There's got to be hope. I lost all my family by death, and that's a whole nother podcast. But if I don't have the hope that I don't see them again, bro, I'm crying right now. I would cry right now if somebody told me I'll never see my mom and dad again. If somebody told me that, that'll crush me, bro.
Yeah.
But the fact that I get to live with Jesus and see my loved ones again in heaven, sign me up. You know, and I always say this, and I say this sometimes when I lead worship, you never know God until nothing else works. And when nothing else works, that's sometimes where we find God.
Yeah.
But just trust me on this one. You don't always have to touch the stove to know it's hot. Just, we should be able to listen to people's experiences. And I will tell you, Jesus is real. He's tangible. You have access to his presence, and he is close by. It's that simple. Regardless of what you've heard, Jesus is accessible to you today. All you got to do is call out and ask him.
Amen.
There you go.
And this is, I think we can go another 3 hours, man.
Oh, we could.
We could, but it's late in the midnight
late.
hour.
Late in the
Midnight hour. God's going to turn it around. It's going to work.
Your favor.
Yeah.
But before we go, let's try to see if we can do a three song harmony thing.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Oh, thanks.
You
All right,
singing, Gus?
Yeah.
Come on, Gus.
bro.
You started off. Gus.
But I'll harmonize.
All right, what's
I'll come in last. with my part?
No, you lead it.
No, what?
I'll do harmony to you.
Okay, well then, what you want to sing?
All right.
Now, what happens if it don't? Okay, well,
I don't know because you might pick a song. I mean, I don't know.
Pick something y'all know. I'll start it, but you tell me what song.
What's a common worship song?
I don't know. Do the Fred Hammond. I'm a Fred Hammond guy.
All right, so you guys go, then I'm out.
No, see, he's out. See, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying. We got to make sure he has an on ramp to
Yeah.
it.
No, I'm good. You guys, I just want to hear. I want to hear it.
Curtis Chapman.
No.
Let's see. Is there Michael W. or
No, I don't know.
No, dog.
The newest kind of worship.
okay? What you listen?
Some of the
to?
songs you sang last night. What was some?
Draw me, Lord. Can you do that?
Which one is that one?
Oh, draw me, Lord.
I don't know how to do that, but all right, go ahead.
No, you want to try that one?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, we can do that.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll give you the parts. Oh, draw me, Lord. That's the melody. Oh, draw me, Lord. Or something. That's the harmony. I'm not gonna be on this podcast messing up harmony. No, you're not gonna get me caught.
Yeah.
Well, y'all.
I'll do the lower key.
You do the lower. Okay. So I'll sing it first, and then you guys come in.
All right.
So get it as I'm singing it. You get your part.
I'm gonna follow you afterwards. I'm just gonna be the white person in this, right?
me.
I'm gonna be the straight-laced white person in the congregation.
All right, here we go, church. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yeah. Oh, draw me, Lord. And I'll run after you. And I'll run after you. And go to parts. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yep. Oh, draw me, Lord. Yep. Now run. One more time. Now I'm going to take the high part. After you, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord.
Yes.
Oh, draw me, Lord. And I'll run after you. Great job, fellas. Hey! Boys to men, ABC, the East Coast family.
Check out the Instagram.
Yeah.
We got
Our
a
album
collab.
coming out soon.
We got a collab.
Yeah. Hit an invite collab on that one. Yeah.
Man, thank you so much. We're gonna do this again. We'll come up to Nashville. We'll get together again.
Absolutely.
This has been a joy, man. This has been so
Man,
much fun.
thank y'all for having me. This is amazing.
Come on.
All right.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.
We'll see you on the next one.
God bless.
See ya.